Hello class, welcome to our third lesson dealing with section 7.4, dealing with quadrilaterals. So far we've learned all the different types of quadrilaterals, their definitions, how to draw them, what things like parallel mean, what congruent means, how to draw those out with the tick marks and the kind of the arrows on a picture. We've also talked about that quadrilaterals add up to 360 degrees, so you want to make sure that you're able to solve for x in those types of situations. And we're going to look at that in a little bit more detail today as well. Before we get into that style of question, I just want to work on a little simplifying. So I've showed this to some students here on this left question. Essentially what I've done here is to compartmentalize all the different parts of the expression, into their own groups. This kind of does the same idea as keep, change. For example, like this minus 3x right here is the same as adding negative 3x. So in my mind, I just know it's a negative 3x. This negative x here, this is the same as minus 1x. And so it's just a way to compartmentalize. You may find this helpful. So for example, this is 9x here, minus 3x would be 6x, minus another x would be 5x, and then 7 plus the 9 would be a plus 16. If that idea helps for now, the goal is to probably do that without drawing it, but maybe that would help some of you as you're going through some of these situations. On the second one, you cannot take 10 minus 4 first. You have to do the order of operations, so you better multiply first before you add or subtract. So negative 4 times 2x is negative 8x, and then negative 4 times negative 1, and then that would be a plus 4. And then from there, I just combine like terms. The key here is there's only one x value, okay, which is the negative 8x, and that just goes out front. Okay, remember, minus 8x is the same as adding negative 8x, so I can put it out front and just make it a negative, and it's the same piece and the same portion of that expression. And then 10 plus the 4 is the 14, then minus 3 would be plus 11. Okay, so if that compartment idea helps you keep track of negative signs better, feel free to use that. Just make sure on the second one you distribute before you add or subtract. Okay, I don't have too many questions for today's lesson because I want to make sure I give you time to work and solve some things. This is a solve for x question like what we did in our previous lesson, except the x portions are a little bit more complicated. There's a couple ways that you could solve these types of questions. I'll do one version on this slide and then another version for the next question on the other slide. For this question, I'm just writing them all out. So 7x minus 2 plus 84 plus 116 plus 78. I just write them all out and they have to add to 360. Now again, I'm not saying it has to look perfectly like this, but you should be able to at any time in these situations get an equation set up that looks like this. Okay, you need to be able to show your work. Some of you aren't very good at showing your work on questions when you solve for x and you keep missing points on them because you're not showing appropriate work. For this question, what I decided to do was to add up the three that I know. I left the 7x minus 2 in parentheses and just said, I'm going to deal with that later. I know some of you have solved some questions like this, so I thought I would try it out this way for you to see. 84 plus 116 plus the 78 is 278. When I move that to the other side, I have to subtract 278 on both sides. I end up with 7x minus 2 equals 82. And then from that step, it's just a two-step equation. So add 2 to both sides, then divide by 7, and I get x equals 12. That's one method to solve that. Obviously, you could combine everything together on like terms on the left side first, and then go from there. But overall, that's the strategy that you want to use in order to solve for x. Okay, for the next question, there's two pieces that have an x involved. So you got 2x minus 7, you got 3x plus 1, and then you've got plus 68 plus 53. Now for this question, I decided to combine all terms before I move things to the other side. You don't have to do it that way. It just gives you another option though. Okay, so the first thing I did was I combined these two things in parentheses. So 2x plus 3x, so 2 of something plus 3 of something else of that same group. Okay, that gives you 5 of that group, which would be 5x. When you're looking at this situation, what I decided to wait with this minus 7 till the very end. So I left it here just so make sure we're clear that it's a minus 7, and we'll deal with that in a moment. Instead, I took the 68 plus 53 plus 1 and made that 122. I could subtract 122 on both sides, find that, and then add 7 to both sides and find that. What I decided to do was to take the minus 7 and the plus 122 and combine them together into one piece of the equation, which would be plus 115 because it's 122 minus 7. And then from there, it's a two-step equation. Subtract 115 on both sides, divide by 5, and I get 49. The nice thing about a lot of these questions early on is you get good numbers. Okay, so when we're looking at like today's homework, the numbers end up being pretty good to deal with, and you should recognize like, oh, all right, I got a whole number that's probably on the right track. Realize as time goes on, that's probably not going to be the case. So you want to be careful on that idea. Okay, that you don't always assume it's going to be a nice integer or whole number value for your final answer. So just keep that in mind. You can solve these in a lot of different ways. You got to make sure you add an equal to 360 for the angles, all adding to 360 on a quadrilateral. Don't forget, if it was a triangle, it would be equals 180. For whatever reason, when students go to the quadrilaterals, they start thinking, oh, everything's 360. But remember, triangles add to be 180, not 360. And that might be something that you want to look at for your homework as well. Okay, that's the examples that I wanted to show today because I want to make sure to give you time to work on your quadrilateral supplement worksheet. That should be posted. A lot of those questions are the solve for x, like what we just talked about on these two slides. Okay, your work should be there. Okay, the answer is not good enough for what we need. We need work shown there. Okay, especially a lot of the answers are going to be given to you to make sure you're on the right track on some of these questions. Okay, so what we're really focusing in on is can you show the work to get to that answer as opposed to what the actual answer is supposed to be. If there's any questions, make sure you ask your teacher about them. Otherwise, have a good day, everyone.